Okay. Hey, Santa Anita! How are we today? Everyone excited? Are you all excited to be back? I know this is our second year back. But I am, one of the things I always say is I'm so glad that we are back in person again. To see everyone in person, walk beside one another, really kind of brings home how important our mission is to end cancer, because we're all in this together. One of the things I want to start off by saying actually is I want to give a special shout out to two friends of mine. They're he's a colleague of mine, but he's also a really good friend, Kavika Kane and his wife Aloha. They came all the way from Oahu. Okay, I don't think anyone can beat that unless you're coming from another country. I don't think you could beat that. He flew out for my relay. He came last year. He came this year. Actually, he came in 2018. So he tries to come with his wife every year, and I really appreciate that because it says a lot. So thank you. And Patricia, I don't know if you remember me, but Steve's So, and the cancer support community is awesome. I used them the most in 2009 when I first was going through it. I was in a support group, and it really helped. And then when I got it the second time, I was like, I can't. It was too heartbreaking because I lost too many good friends from that. But it's I've done some great classes. Like during the pandemic, they went on Zoom, and I was doing yoga, and it was great. So for any cancer survivors out there, I would highly recommend the cancer support community. Thanks, Patricia. Tell Steve I said hi. Been emailing him, he's not responding. I was asking for a donation. So anyway, I'm so happy to be here today to speak to you at our Santa Anita Relay. I've participated in this relay now going on 14 years. I've been lucky enough to make some wonderful friends like Larry, Joe, who's been riding around, Chris Peterson, and most of all, of course, Susie, and my relay mom, Patricia, and her whole family. I mean, they've just been wonderful. So, and relay wouldn't be the same without them. So thank you. Don't ever leave. However, this particular relay this year is kind of bittersweet. It's the first time in 14 years that I'm here without my two sons. Both of them are now in college, so they're living their best lives. And although I miss them, I'm so glad that I'm still alive and around to have seen them graduate, except for my son, Evan, who graduated COVID year, so he didn't have a graduation. But when I was first diagnosed back in 2009, my oldest son, Evan, was not quite 7, and Kai was 3, and he wasn't quite 4 yet. So the second time around was in 2018, and that was almost 9 years to the day of when I was diagnosed in 2009. And at that time, of course, the boys were teenagers. So my type of cancer, I have breast cancer. I had breast cancer, knock on wood, had breast cancer, is called triple negative. And what that means is that unlike most breast cancers that need hormones to grow, triple negative cancer grows on its own, making it very aggressive and very difficult to treat. So because of cancer, I've had, therefore, multiple surgeries, and I feel like a human pincushion with all the blood tests and the chemo IVs that I endured. My first relay was in 2010 after my first bout with cancer, and I just clearly remember while I was undergoing radiation that I was thinking and crying to myself that I don't want my kids to ever be in this position. I want cancer to be cured sometime in their lifetime, so they never have to fear hearing the words, "You have cancer." You do a lot of soul searching in those moments when you are laying there on the thick slab waiting for the radiation, and the radiation tech gets you all set up and then quickly hurries out the door and is behind tons of steel, right? So you have a lot of time as that machine is whirring and going over you. So I got involved in ACS as a result. And I did a mini relay at my kids' elementary school back in 2010. I organized getting volunteers for the cancer prevention study, CPS-3, and I became a Reach to Recovery volunteer where I would talk to newly diagnosed breast cancer survivors. and I haven't looked back since. So the services that ACS provides for cancer survivors and their caregivers are tremendous. So Relay is a big part of helping to fund their continued mission to defeat cancer. So I've been fortunate to have been asked several times to speak at Relay for Life events. And I always look for inspiration as I prepare for my speech. So back in May, I was invited to speak at the Relay for Life of Torrance. And the following week, I actually had an offsite meeting up in Oakland. One of our pre-work assignments at the time was to come up with the secret skill that you know well enough to teach someone else and reflect on some of the trials and tribulations of learning that skill. So I was racking my brain trying to think of what I could possibly say. And the only thing that I can come up with is to persevere in the face of adversity. And you never know exactly how tough you are until you're faced with fighting for your life. I never thought of myself as a fighter until I completed my last treatment in 2018 and rang that symbolic bell on the wall. This past spring, my oldest son, Evan, was applying for an internship at Adidas. And Adidas asked him to write something in response to the cue of impossible is nothing. So he used me as an example. And I cried when I read it. So I hope I don't cry when I'm reading this. So he said, so for me, impossible is nothing means perseverance in the face of an unknown obstacle. Impossible is nothing means maintaining spirit no matter how unfortunate the circumstance. Impossible is nothing is the definition of my mom. So, a great essay like that, right? But Adidas didn't hire him for the internship. So, oh well, that's their loss. Instead, Amazon got a chance to see what a great employee he was this summer. So, I also look to the universe for inspiration. And an incident of the universe, like whispering in my ear, came up last year. Was when my kids and their girlfriends were watching the second Jumanji movie. In it, there's a scene where the grandfather says to his grandson, growing old is, and his grandson interjected, I know, growing old sucks. And the grandfather said, growing old is a gift. It made me cry because as I thought back to 2009, I was in a cancer support group at the cancer support community. And a fellow survivor who was the same age as me and had a son who was a year older than Evan told us a story one night. He was getting into the elevator to go to his chemo appointment, and an older gentleman using a walker said to him, "Don't grow old." And he smiled at him and he thought to himself, I just hope I can live to grow old. Unfortunately, he had pancreatic cancer and died just a few months after that incident. So again, this is why we relay. Every year, I relay for my fellow support group people that have passed away, Roger, Robin, Emily, Cesar, and a good friend, Pat, that passed away, worked with me in Torrance right before that Torrance relay. Friends and relatives who I've lost, as well as those who continue to fight and survive. This is why we all fight, and this is why we are here. So finally, we all know how important mindfulness is, living in the moment, calming your mind, learning to let go of worry, which anyone who knows me knows this is something that, frankly, I am not good at. But I'm sure that there are many cancer survivors like me who find it difficult to let go of that worry. They say that writing a gratitude journal can help you cope. So for today, September 9th, the 3 things I'm grateful for are: 1, having wonderful and supportive family and friends, some of whom are here today. 2, enjoying our gorgeous and hot Southern California weather. And 3, most importantly, to be alive to be here at the beautiful and awesome Santa Anita Park racetrack and to be here with you to help defeat cancer. So let's relay. Thank you.